Welcome to Creepy and Geeky. I'm your host, Robert, and on today's episode, I'm talking to returning guest Cat Voleur about Freaky as part of a look at Katherine Newton movies. Cat Voleur is a horror author with such books as Revenge Arc, My Apologies to Tanya Grace, and her upcoming nonfiction debut, Queer Tastes. She is also the co-host of the Nick F and Woo Cage Cast, Willem Dafoe. Welcome back to the show, Cat.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's always great having you on.
Always a pleasure to
Uh,
be here.
we always have a good time, so that's what's important. Um, yeah, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about your upcoming debut, Queer Tastes. When does that officially drop in stores?
It officially drops in stores on June 23rd for Pride Month. Um,
Okay.
Little toward the end of Pride, but that's okay.
Still part of Pride Month.
Yeah, it's still included. And
All right. Well, tell me a little bit about the book. What's it about? What made you want to write it and stuff? So.
it is 20 essays, 20 movie recommendations. Each one talks about a different theme, like a different underrepresented aspect of the queer community. It chooses a movie that reflects that. They are all lesser loved queer films, because especially in the horror community we don't always have, like, we have a lot of problematic films, and it can be kind of a like mob mentality where it's like, yes, this is okay even though it's problematic, or no, that is not okay because it is problematic. So I've taken some of the ones that the community doesn't like as well to kind of shine a light on
Hmm,
them and be like, these are an important part of the conversation too.
that's cool. That's cool.
Um, and it's fun to talk about it in an episode where we're talking about a movie that I think has been embraced really well by the queer community. And it actually comes up very briefly, like in passing. It's not one of my 20 movies, but I did mention Freaky
Okay.
as being like very on brand for like the queer pop horror culture. Um,
Right.
and I didn't talk about this. I think it's because it has Katherine Newton in it. All of us love
Interesting.
Katherine Newton.
Well, and I also think a large part of it, and we'll get into it too, is that both um, Christopher Landon and Michael Kennedy, who co-wrote the movie, and Christopher Landon directs the movie, are both gay as well.
Yes.
So that lends itself to, a lot of queerness just, I don't know, by osmosis. Sure, they could probably write something that isn't queer, but I think that being able to add that into it adds a lot to the
I
movie
think so.
itself. So, but yeah, that sounds awesome. I will definitely need to get a copy of the book to check it out as well. Um, and add it to my little library of your books that I have.
It'll be the most
um,
colorful book on there by a long shot.
I don't know. Monomore is pretty colorful.
That's true. We've got the pride flag on the cover of this one though.
Okay.
I'm very
Yeah.
excited.
All right. Well, let me see. Um, that so yeah, so you said June 23rd is when
June
it comes out?
23rd is when it comes
Okay.
out. And
All right.
it's exciting.
Yeah, definitely.
Very excited. I don't get to
All
do a
right.
lot of nonfiction, so which is crazy because my background is in, like, my writing career started doing like essays and articles and stuff for movie review
Right.
places, and but I haven't gotten to like work on this kind of scale for nonfiction, so it's very exciting.
Right.
And I love talking about movies. I have a lot of movie hot takes.
Yeah, and you've been on here a lot as well, so you are a fairly regular guest on the show. So most people who listen here should be familiar with you and your hot takes.
Hot takes. The book has a lot of hot
um,
takes, and I'm going to drop a few tonight also as we
oh,
get into it,
interesting,
I think. One, I'm gonna
interesting.
drop like one big hot take.
Ooh, can't wait. But yeah, go check out some of the episodes she's been on, and including we did an episode together where we just talked about your writing and your books at one
Yeah,
point as well.
that's
So
fun.
Yeah. So go check out those episodes. Just search for Cat Voleur on Creepy and Geeky. You should be able to find them all. Um, that being said, let's go ahead and jump into Freaky. Like I said, this movie was directed by Christopher Landon and written by Christopher Landon and Michael Kennedy, starring Katherine Newton and Vince Vaughn. And it basically is Freaky Friday mixed with Friday the 13th. So that's the general high concept of it all. And I think they managed to pull it off really well. Um, it's definitely it's got a lot of, it's not just the Freaky Friday, but I saw something else online that actually made a lot of sense in terms of it's also kind of very reminiscent of the movie The Hot Chick. So um, which is a funny movie as well. But yeah, I really enjoyed this movie when it first came out. I'm a big Christopher Landon fan, huge Happy Death Day fan. So I was on board for this one. And actually, in fact, he was wanting to do a crossover at one point with uh, Freaky and Happy Death Day and just calling it Freaky Death Day. So I don't think that one's ever going to get off the ground. I'm still hoping for a third movie in the Happy Death Day series. We'll see what happens. But at least for now, he's still making some interesting stuff. But so what are your how do you feel about this movie?
I surprisingly really like Freaky, and I say surprisingly because the trailers were kind of abysmal. I didn't have a lot of hope for this one. And Christopher Landon, I've always been, it's been like hit or miss per movie for me. So
Mm.
when I saw the trailers, there was like no immediate rush for me to get out and see this one. And then the other thing that kind of surprised me about this, and we're gonna drop the hot take right away.
Oh, okay.
Um, I think that Katherine Newton is so talented, but she always happens to be in movies that I don't like very much. So I kind of was dragging my feet about this one, and I am really, I think I watched it after because it was on my list and it was like I'll get to it, I'll get to it. I don't think I saw Freaky until after I had seen Abigail, and that was
Oh,
another
wow.
one of those like I didn't like this movie. I liked the
Oh, wow.
performances in a vacuum, but I this was not good for me. I did not have a good time. And then so I was like by the time I actually got around to watching Freaky, I was like kind of convinced that I was not going to like it because that's just the pattern that I've had with Katherine Newton. But I was like, but I had enjoyed her performance in Abigail so much that it was like, well, she'll be front and center of, if nothing else, and I'll get to
Right.
experience a little bit more of like, her performance. And so at least there will be that. And then I was like really pleasantly surprised by how much I liked it. Um, and it was nice. It was really nice to get to see her in something where I was having a good time outside of her performance, but also I do think this might be her best performance. Like
Oh,
it asks a lot of her and she
yeah.
really nails it. Like
Yeah.
I'm very impressed with this.
Yeah, she balances the kind of like the meek side of being Millie, and then like the killer side of being the whatever they call them, the Blissfield. What do they call him again? I
Butcher, I
just
think.
Butcher. Thank you. I literally just watched the movie right before we started.
You were
Um,
distracted by the talent of Katherine Newton.
exactly. I mean, that's what this whole next few weeks is about. Is her in these movies. So no, I've liked her for a while too. Like I thought she was really great in the few little um episodes that she did on Supernatural, and then just seeing her grow into this horror genre actress in this Lisa Frankenstein and Abigail, and then in the new Ready or Not 2, she's been, I think, really, I think she's one of those actresses that really, like, thankfully really likes the horror genre. um and I always appreciate anybody who enjoys being in it and constantly goes back to it. um
Yeah.
that's always a lot of fun. um but yeah, I thought this one was like her first big um kind of starring role. Um,
Yes.
and I thought she did really good, especially, holding her own. I mean, she doesn't really share very many scenes with Vince Vaughn, but holding her own in a movie with Vince Vaughn, because Vince Vaughn himself is just kind of a force. Like he's Vince Vaughn. Um, and he, like just what she does well in this and manages to balance it very well. Especially for somebody who's so young and you know still making that name for herself at the time that this came out. So
Can I throw in another secret hot take?
sure.
I I also think this might be my favorite Vince Vaughn performance. Vince Vaughn is another one. Like I think because he's not as like horror specific as Katherine Newton
Yes.
seems to be leaning. I never run across the Vince Vaughn performances where it's like here's him doing a really serious thing and he's really good in it. I always come across him in stuff where I'm like, really? I see him in like The Breakup, and
Yeah.
Wedding Crashers, and I like the only other performance of his that I like really think of was the what was that really terrible um oh God. I don't remember the name of it now. So I'm
Dodgeball,
gonna
the
be no help.
internship.
Very possibly. But I don't think of him as like a serious a actor a lot of the time. I'm sure he's great in stuff,
Right.
but I
Yeah.
I don't have that like base of so yeah, this is I think since the first time I watched it, this is like the movie I think of Vince Vaughn for.
Right. That's
And
funny.
he also
Yeah.
does great. This is another one, like, it's not as, I think his role in the movie is a little bit more comedic. Um, but it also, like, as a performance, just, I think it was kind of a big ask for him, where it's like, we need
Oh
you to
yeah.
believably play this kid. And he does a great job, you know?
Him and Jack Black. Like between this and Jack Black in the Jumanji movies, do a really good job at like channeling like like a feminine energy. Um, and it's not all the time, but they do a good job at approximating it as best as they can. And I think that's admirable, especially in this movie with Vince Vaughn. You know, there's that scene later on where he's about to kiss the guy that she likes, because it's her inside Vince Vaughn's body and everything like that. It's like that's it's not like that's as an actor, I think, and in a especially a male actor in a a very not generally and not queer friendly um time in our country, that it's still a pretty big ask, and especially because that it seems like Vince Vaughn has become somewhat of a right winger in recent years. So it's interesting that he would play something like this and do it well and do it with what seems like some earnestness and honesty. So
Yeah.
it's interesting for him to pull it off. So
I think
um
also there's something I think it's very easy in roles like that for men to kind of over exaggerate and
yes.
it could be a little bit offensive in instances, I think, where it's like, oh, I'm, a woman, I'm like a girl trapped in a man's body. I think it would have been very easy, especially since you're going for laughs, to kind of try and play that up and take it too far. And one thing that I really appreciate about both sides of this is that I think Vince Vaughn does a really good job matching Katherine Newton's mannerisms in this and vice versa. Like she doesn't go super campy on the serial killer side either.
Yeah.
She does a good job mirroring his serial killer persona. And I was very impressed. They are a surprisingly good duo. Like it works very, very well.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think that they managed to match the energy off of each other really well. Like again, like you said, he's not overdoing it, um and just playing a girl stereotype. He is like actually matching the way she was. And so I think that's the real key to it all, is that it wasn't just a generic performance, that he actually, probably they talked and got chances to figure out the energy between them, and then matched it completely, which is awesome. So I love that. Um, but outside of them, everybody else is doing really good. I love the extended casts, her friends, her mom and her sister, um, Alan Ruck, of course, as the really shitty um, woodshop teacher, um, who definitely deserves what he gets.
Yeah.
um, but
Um,
yeah, yeah, go ahead.
that's another, just like on the shop teacher, real quick. It's another thing that I think is really interesting about this movie. I think it's really fun because this is a horror comedy, and I think it's really interesting because a lot of horror comedies, I and I will say, because we've talked about horror comedies before on the show. This
Hmm.
is maybe I do prefer horror comedies that are horror first. I do feel like this is one of those comedy first horror comedies because it never wants to just like fully delve into the darker elements of the story, which I think is appropriate for the tone they were trying to set. It's just
Yeah.
not my preference. But as a comedy first horror comedy, I think one of the things that makes it really successful is that a lot of the heavier aspects, a lot of the more like emotional down points of the movie come from personal struggles. As a fun slasher, I think it's incredible that you're kind of rooting for the serial killer to kill all of the people that get killed after they switch bodies. Like there's the terrible shop teacher, there's the snarky attention-seeking bully,
Yeah.
there's the
The shitty
weird
jocks. Yeah.
overly sexual jocks, yeah, and it's like it I think that's the key to a fun slasher is when you are kind of
Yeah.
rooting against the kids. I think it's where the Friday the 13th really shines
Yes.
through in this
Yeah.
because I
Yeah,
very
definitely.
seldom am rooting for the people. Like there are exceptions, but for the most part,
Yeah.
it's kind of like, oh yeah, they've got it coming a little bit. And it makes them
No,
fun. Like they're fun rewatches, because you're
yeah.
not so anxious for everybody.
Well, and I will say though too, like to your point about it not being very dark. Yes, it errs on the side of comedy more than horror, but there are some brutal fucking kills in this movie. Like this is
Yes.
a hard R-rated brutal kill movie. I haven't watched this in a while, and so rewatching it today, I was like, holy shit, these go hard. Like
Yeah.
you see this, and I like actually had to stop the movie for a minute, and I was like, wait, is this R rated? And like look back at the rating, and it was like, oh yeah, this is, because you get so many slashers that, even R-rated slashers, R-rated horror movies, that don't go as hard as this one does. This
Yeah.
one went hard into the kills and stuff. Um
It's
and so it's really really fucking brutal.
It's so funny you would
Go
say
ahead.
that. I'm starting my I'm starting to do like interviews and appearances and stuff for my book, and I was reaching out to a place that doesn't do they're more geared toward like a younger audience, and they asked if I
Mm,
wanted to come talk about like queer horror for teens, and I was like, and we had a discussion where we went kind of back and forth about like the PG-13 R thing because I was like
yeah.
there are a lot of slashers that are R rated that still feel more like
Yes.
Clown in a
Yes.
Cornfield, and a lot of the classic slashers I would argue kind of fall into that, like Nightmare on Elm Streets and stuff,
Yeah.
Fear Street. And we had this conversation like last week, and it's really funny because I put Freaky on the list, and then I was watching it again today, and it's like, huh, I don't I actually don't think this is for teens. I think maybe
No,
I've
it's
never
really
thought about
not.
it in that context. And it wasn't even the gore that got me, it was the sex. I was like, this is a very sexual movie for
Well, it's so funny because I didn't like. it's the even the sex in this really isn't that bad. Like, it's the language is kind of
The
the
language
language
is
is
also a little bit aggressive.
yeah,
It's
the
like,
language is more aggressive for sure. The kills are a lot aggressive. I think I get what you're saying about the sex in terms of like more like the jock kind of things that are going on.
yeah.
And that kind of stuff. Yeah, that one's a lot more aggressive.
And
Um,
even like in the cold open, like they
yes.
show a
Yeah.
lot more than I think even the average R horror movie will
Yeah.
show.
Yeah, there's no nudity and there's no actual like people. Oh yeah, no, you're right. I forgot about that opening.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I which I was
Yeah.
shocked by because I think maybe because I do watch a lot of horror movies that are geared more specifically for adult audiences, like I kind of don't register sometimes
Yeah. I mean,
how
it's tame on the scale for sure. But still definitely harder than yeah, your average
yeah.
PG-13, even your
And
average
especially for like
R-rated. Yeah.
a horror comedy, I think, because a lot of those
Yeah.
also like even when they're doing sex jokes and stuff, I don't know, this one had some edge to the comedy
Yeah.
side, and I was impressed, especially on the rewatch
Yes.
today. I was
Well, and I think that's what was nice about the movie is because it is so queer oriented and so unapologetically against kind of like almost like a cis male like
yeah.
worldview that like because that sex scene that we're talking about in the very beginning, it ends where the girl's satisfied and she gets up and leaves and the guy's
She
like,
just
wait, what about
leaves.
me? And he's like, and she's like, it's not my problem.
Just my
So
problem.
it's so I mean I love that about the movie too because it totally flips a lot of these things on their head and stuff. Something I learned today and I didn't even know about it too. I was looking up the trivia and stuff like that. The Booker, the guy that Millie likes, he's actually a good jock. um
Yeah.
but all of his friends are terrible people. And they're all named after Brett Kavanaugh and his friends. One's named Brett, one's named Tobin, and the other one's named Squee.
Oh, that's
And we only know all
incredible.
those names from the stupid ass confirmation hearings that he somehow passed. So,
Yeah.
um, so yeah,
Oh.
it's just yeah, it was great because I was like, oh my god, I didn't even clock that the first time I watched it. So, but yeah, no, so I love that about that they're imbuing this um movie with all of these little things like this that makes it definitely much more than the typical straight ahead, especially a male gaze type of slasher like we typically get. Or at least, for the 80s and stuff. Um, and especially for something that's in a lot of ways an homage to Friday the 13th. And like you said, all of these characters, the ones pretty much everybody who dies, except for like maybe the beginning, the
I
opening
was gonna say, other than
ones,
like the
but
cold open, and
but
I'm
once
willing to take it for
yeah.
I'm willing to believe that I would have gotten annoyed of with them if they had been the whole
Oh
movie.
yeah. But Millie, once the butcher's in Millie's body, like everybody that she kills is literally like the most terrible people in the movie. So it does lend itself to, like you said, appreciating. Oh yeah, these people all deserve to die. Yes, this is great.
It also
So
it sets up that kind of theme of the end. There's the sort of fake out moment toward the end where, he comes back and
mhm.
he's like complaining about how passive and weak and everything she is. And there's a line in there where he's like, "But that's okay. We can fix it." And it's like I love the I'm glad. I think the movie ends on a really fun note. Obviously
Mhm.
we're rooting for Millie there, but I would have watched a like TV series that was just Katherine Newton being Vince Vaughn killing people as a resolution to like internalized self-doubt, Like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just but it sets it up really well because there is part of you that's like watching this and it's like he gave her the makeover sequence. He's, getting rid of her bullies.
Mhm.
He is kind of improving her life a little bit. It's
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, and that's the thing too, is like she learned, like she not only did, like he set her up to be kind of better in a lot of ways, by getting rid of a lot of the shitty people in her life, but
Yeah.
then she also learned by being in his body things about her mom, about just kind of life in general, not being so meek and mild and stuff like that, being able to carry herself differently and everything. So there's this like nice little interchange in that um, I think it's not something that probably people either pick up on or that talk about very often when you watch this movie or when people talk about the movie. And I like that there is that aspect of it that while this is terrible, and she has to deal with all this stuff and everything, that in the end it was this really good growing experience for her. It brought her family together in a way that they hadn't, by the end of the movie, like being able to take him down, all three of them. That was the other thing that was really good, was that it wasn't just her, it was both her, it was also her mom and her sister as well.
Yeah.
And so they got to come together as this family in a way they hadn't been for a while, and they got to, be there for each other, and I think that was really a good heartwarming moment at the end of the movie. So
It's also
um
something that I really appreciate about this as like a queer movie. Eh, because it's obviously this one falls under queer for a lot of reasons,
mhm,
that are like really easy to, Christopher Landon made it, so that's like an easy
yeah,
check, and there is a gay character, so that's another really obvious check. The critique of cishet white male culture is an obvious one, but I there
right.
is kind of this, I it's something that I would love to see more of in specifically queer oriented films where there is sort of the sort of gender euphoria of appreciating the body that you have, I think, is
Yeah,
something that we don't get a lot. And I felt it very strongly at the end of this, where she has learned those things about being
yeah,
herself by temporarily being a man.
yeah,
I love seeing stories like that, and it's something that I think gets kind of overlooked. And we talked about it. I talk about this a lot more than I mean to sometimes, but it's like I think gender exploration isn't just for trans people. Like I think it's a lot more
hmm,
rewarding to have those kinds of like I not body swapping experiences, obviously. I wish I could have more of those. Never
yeah,
happened to me. But like those sorts of thought experiments and those conversations and those, that searching for self-identity, I think is important for cis people to do also, because I think it
yeah,
will make them feel more comfortable being cis, and the more comfortable we all are with our gender identities, the less we can be weird
absolutely.
about other people's gender identities. And that's something I really loved
Yes,
about
thank
Freaky,
you.
because like she appreciates her time with being a man, and she's able to say like, "Oh, hey, this isn't all bad." And then she still uses that to be a more powerful woman like at the end of everything. And I love to see that
Yeah,
kind of arc.
yeah, no, and I think that's what's interesting about it too, is that because it is a gender swap, body swap too, you kind of get this transness of it all too. And so
Yeah.
that's something that, it's done for laughs and everything like that. But there is this moment, and this is what is really interesting too. There's the moment where Booker and Millie inside of the butcher are in the back seat of the car, and they're having this really nice moment and everything. And Booker wants to kiss her, even though he's Vince Vaughn in body,
Yeah.
but it's still Millie, and he's still willing to kiss her, even though she's like, yeah, but I look like this right now, and he's like, yes, but you're still you. And I love that part of it because it's such a nice, like a trans acceptance in a way, and just again, like Booker is not gay. He's not. He never comes off gay. He never, and he just likes Millie, and however Millie is how he wants to be with her and how he wants to kiss her and everything. And so I love that this movie kind of broaches those topics, even if it's lightly, it's still
Yeah.
broaching them in ways that don't get done in mainstream stuff, because Freaky is definitely a
And
100% mainstream movie. And you don't
yes.
get that in mainstream movies as often as maybe we should be. But yeah,
That
go ahead.
Oh, no, just that moment I think is really important. It's
Hmm.
really good. I think it would have been really easy for that to come across to land, especially again in a comedy. It could have been very easy to make a homophobic joke there.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
I think even unintentionally, like I think it would have been really easy to make a joke that would have come across later as homophobic because, you know, as society evolves, those sorts of jokes do tend to age very poorly, very fast.
Hmm.
And but I think a really important thing, not only, that he is so accepting because it's Millie, I think it's also really accepted. I think it's really important to the scene that she's the one who feels uncomfortable because she's not
Yes.
as confident in her body. And then like when they kiss at the end, it's her choice because she does feel more confident in her body. And I think that's really it's an important part of the messaging that it's like that he's very patient, he's very good, he's a very rare I like this love interest in
Yeah.
horror. I don't have a lot of those, but no, that scene
No,
was great.
absolutely. And I do agree with you that, like, I think that movies like this, and experiences like this, what you were saying about like living in a, or at least like, not even like, I know that most people would have to try to experience what it's like to be something like you said, like with the body swap, so that cisgender people could learn to just live in their own bodies and to be able to experience them. And I think, don't get me wrong, I think there's a lot of people who do have that. I have that, personally. I feel like I have that because, of my own just life experiences and stuff like that. Like, I am comfortable being a straight cis male. Like, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with everybody else being whatever they want to be too. And I think that's, what you have to, like, nobody being whatever they are is threatening my way of living.
Yeah.
So, like, I think that's the thing that people need to, like, straight cisgender people need to understand, is that being trans, being gay, none of that is threatening to your way of life.
No, you can just
You
keep
could
about
still
your
be,
business.
yeah, you could just do your shit and be okay. Like, I lived my whole life never having to deal with anything. Like, I'm just me. And so, I just want to put that out there for people, because it's such a stupid thing. I think anybody who's listening to my podcast knows that and probably accepts that kind of stuff like that, and if you're not, don't listen to me anymore, because I don't want you here. Um,
Yeah, go get a
seriously,
life, bud.
I already have a small audience. I don't need you. But yeah, no, I think that in general, I think that's what this movie's really, and it is very surprising, like I said, to see in something that is what you would consider a very mainstream movie. Because I'm pretty sure, what was this, Universal put this out.
I think so,
So
yeah.
it's very,
It has all the hallmarks of a Universal movie where it's like a good budget and a stacked cast and kind of poor marketing. Like they really undersold this movie.
I mean, it was produced by Blumhouse, but released by Universal, so probably under his Universal deal that he's got. But yeah, so I mean, that's what's great. I mean, Universal put it out. I mean, obviously they had Universal had no problems. Blumhouse has no problem with any of the material in there. And like you said, I mean, that whole sequence with the with Booker and Millie as the butcher in the back seat could have come off. They could have done an easy gay joke,
Yeah.
and it would have been fine. It would have been the typical thing we would have seen in every other movie. But I think, one, having Michael Kennedy and Christopher Landon as the people who wrote the movie and directed the movie, that they had a certain amount of creative control, and two, that the studio and the production company all had faith in them, and also just understood this didn't need to be in there. So, like, thankfully they were able to make the movie they wanted to make and be able to give us something that in any other hands would have come off that way and come off more crass and generic. So,
And it's
uh,
something it's really important as someone I who has spent like the last year like nitpicking problematic queer rap. It's worth noting that understanding at key moments like that can make you view other moments of a movie a lot more favorably. There's a
Mm,
scene where I've forgotten his name, but the friend, the male friend,
mm,
the gay kid that Millie
yeah.
has in her group, um, he
Josh. Yeah.
Josh. Josh is led away by one of the bullies who kisses
Yes.
him later on and then says a slur when he is rejected. And is immediately killed, which is very funny, because at that point we're all kind of rooting for it. But I do think like that's a scene that if this were in any generic like random horror movie, it'd be one of those things. It would come out and people would be like, "Oh, it's fine. He said a slur and he got killed. He learned the slasher lesson, whatever." And no one, but then like 5, 10 years out, people would have looked back and been like, actually, this was really problematic because it's the internalized homophobia, making a bully, and there was the slur, and that wasn't the place to. But because we have really good, strong moments that are very heartening for queer themes, I think it does make you look at that whole situation a lot more favorably because it is for
Right.
kind of a throwaway thing. It's like, well, that is a type of repression that some people have. That's a type of bullying that gay people do face, and you're willing to
Right.
meet it more, um, like with more understanding and more faith in the project as a whole because we've seen them handle other aspects well. And that's the kind of moment that I think even when it is really well intentioned, it can age poorly. I'm excited to see.
Hmm.
In another, 5 years, I'll rewatch Freaky again and I'll see what the group mentality is on that one. But I think it's going to stand up better than like comparable scenes in other films just because there is so much sympathy at the core of Freaky.
Well, and I think it also helps that it's immediately called out by Josh in that moment too.
It
He's like,
is,
"Oh,"
yeah.
like he's like, as soon as he gets the slur against him, that he's just like, "Oh, okay, this is,
Yeah.
this is your internalized homophobia, blah blah blah." But it's like, yeah, definitely. Um, I think that helps undercut it as well. If that follow up line wasn't there, then yeah, that could be done. And again, this goes into the fact that again, Michael Kennedy and Christopher Landon are both gay, and so they're making a movie that knows about these tropes, knows about all this stuff, and is embracing it and also twisting them in a very good way. That I think just a lot of movies, even with gay characters, gay leads, and stuff like that, just don't have. Um,
Yeah.
and either because they're not written by gay people or, you know, just studio interference and such. So I think it's this really great combination of the writing and the kind of hands offness of the studios to just let this movie be what it is.
Which
So,
is a great tip to studios to let more movies be what they
oh,
are.
please.
The
Uh,
studio interference tanks a lot of good movies.
I mean, we just had that with the Buffy reboot that was happening. One
Yeah,
studio executive did not understand
one
what
dude.
Buffy was about, and it got canceled. I'm sorry. Why was that one dude allowed to have the ultimate say in everything like that?
Yeah,
That guy should have never been in charge of it anyway. It should have been somebody who appreciated it and understood it. That's ridiculous. And the fact that
yeah,
that came out and then hasn't been reversed yet is just, it baffles me. So, um, like I'm not even that huge of a Buffy fan. I liked Buffy. I watched it when it was on. But I was actually very interested in seeing what they were going to do with this new series. So, but
we're
anyway,
treading once again into some like dangerous cat has a hot take territory. I'm like a die-hard ride or die Buffy person.
yes.
Um, I grew up on that series. It I'm sure contributed to my lifelong love of horror.
I
I
I really enjoyed it when it was on for
I
most of it.
don't I was not excited for the reboot. I will say I don't think
Mm,
it should have been canceled, and I think the way that it got canceled was exceptionally record-breaking dumb. But I
very
don't.
shitty. Yeah.
I'm not sharing in the like great sense of injustice that a lot of Buffy fans are right now because it's and maybe I'm just like a little bit jaded on this. I've seen so many
Yeah.
properties that I cared about be rebooted poorly that there is that part of my brain that's just like instantly skeptical so that I don't get mad later on, you know? And I'm wondering if it was part of that and history will see me be more angry about this decision. But there was that part of me that's like, well, how good was it gonna be anyway, you know? Which I it's very cynical, but I
Well,
don't
no,
know.
I will agree with you. There have been definite. Don't get me wrong. I think that there have been some good reboot things, but there have also been some lackluster or even terrible reboot things. One in particular, I just finally watched all of Veronica Mars,
Okay.
and I really enjoyed the show. But the reboot, um, that they did for on Hulu for like 8 episodes and everything like that still wasn't terrible. I liked most of it, but it ends in such a weird way that I'm just like, and there are definitely parts in the whole series where I'm just like, but why? Why is this the vibe I'm like you're going for rather than kind of like, and it still was the same creator and everything like that. So there was no, it should have been consistent, and maybe that's just where he thought the characters would be, but I'm just like, I don't know, man. It's just I'm just not vibing with it as much as I as the original series did. So
And for shows especially, I feel like they have like a really low we brought this back successfully rate. Um I I was never like a Gilmore Girls fan, but I
yeah.
everyone I knew was pissed about the revival of
Oh,
that
really?
for
That's so
like a long
funny.
time. Nobody liked it. I watched the first season of the Sex and the City reboot and it was also bad and like I don't
Yeah,
know. There's just shows I think are so they're such like a long form continuous thing that bringing them back has that extra risk of feeling very awkward and disconnected, I think. And I was worried. The one exception, and I think it helps that it's not necessarily a legacy series, it's a like full reimagining. I'm hyped for the new X-Files. If anything happens to that, I'm
mm,
gonna start punching people, I think.
interesting. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. No, and
but
I will say, like,
generally,
yeah, I would say that, like, I think most TV shows specifically, um, are very good with they're a product of their time. And so when you
yes.
reboot something, you run that risk of it no longer making sense in the current time unless you do change some stuff. And then by changing certain things, then you're going to leave a lot of the audience dissatisfied because they want it like it was before, but you can't
Yeah.
make it like it was before because times have changed. And
I,
so yeah.
I was gonna tangent. It's a big reason why I watched the Sex and the City reboot because I thought it would be really interesting to be like you have these same very problematic characters in modern day, and I think they're going to run into a lot more friction in modern day than they did in
Yeah.
the 90s, and I think that's going to be really cool. But their solution was kind of like, oh, well, everyone is super aware of everyone else's feelings and makes no mistakes, and I was like, oh yeah, because that's how 50-year-olds act in today's society all the time when they're wealthy and famous. Like, why
Yeah.
not, I guess.
Yeah, I could never get in that show. I don't like Sarah Jessica Parker, so it's just like, yeah, that's a hard no for me to watch that show. So
It had Vince Vaughn though. That was another one. My family was like really into Sex and the City. So when the reboot came out, I was like, I'll check this out because I think it has the potential to be really interesting because that is a huge problem in picking up television and, like how would they be able to do it? I it's something also I think um to kind of get back on the Katherine Newton and the Sarah Michelle Gellar and me being
mhm.
a buzzkill, I am not looking forward to Ready or Not 2. I
I
we need
enjoyed
more
it. I enjoyed it a
standalone
lot.
movies.
No,
And
I
I
agree we need more standalone movies, but I think this one does well. I think it's
does it?
fun. Yeah,
It look
I
the
don't
trailer
don't go in thinking it's the same kind of movie because it's not. It's very similar, but it's different. And so you just I don't know. Like I you have to lower your expectations, and I think that's just generally it. Like I go in excited for the movie. I was really excited for the movie. I still had a lot of fun with it. So, but
I want
also I
good
think even
standalone
with my
fun horror
excitement,
movies.
yeah. Well, but here's the thing though. If you don't like this one, Ready or Not still exists as a singular movie itself if you want to just have that. So I think that's ultimately where you have to think about it, is just even if this one isn't your cup of tea, you still have the original that was really good. So
All right.
it's the same with remakes. I feel like, you know, a remake doesn't do anything bad to the original. The original still exists. You can still love that original one, but maybe the remake will do something different and interesting that will stand on its own. Not all remakes are bad.
It
Um,
it it is I think easier for me to separate remakes than sequels in my head
sure.
because it's like this is a different of that being said, the stakes are a lot higher because remakes have that balance of if it's not original enough, we didn't need it because it's probably not going to be
Yes.
better. And if it's too original, why did it need to be a remake? Why can't you
Yeah.
leave
Yeah.
my stuff alone, you know?
Yeah. No,
I
absolutely agreed.
But they do also exist. There are good remakes and I
Yeah.
my
I
fear
like
is that we're
remakes
going
that
to get
straddle that line. Go ahead. Sorry.
my fear is that we're going to get a Freaky 2 and I'm going to be mad about it.
I mean, they do kind of leave it open for a sequel, so you
I
never know.
know, but I don't want the
Um,
sequel. I want it to be a
no, I think this one's good as a one and done. Or
yeah.
if they can do it like a Freaky Death Day like crossover, that would be fun. But just as a really campy side thing that would be goofy and stuff like that. But like
Yeah.
I don't need it. It would be funny, but I don't need it. Um, but I was gonna say something. Um, and I don't remember what I was gonna say.
About remakes straddling that line of
Oh, remake straddling the line of like they need to straddle that line of being original enough, but also being similar enough.
I think
Because
so.
it's a very hard thing to do. Very few remakes ever manage to do it. Um, and I think that a good remake is something that the original thing was based on a book or something like that. Like say, The Thing. The
Okay.
1982 Thing was based on the original novel, same as the 1950s movie The Thing. So,
Hmm.
but they took different ways of doing it. And so The Thing 1982 is not a remake of the original movie. It's just a new adaptation of the book. Same with The Running Man, the recent Running Man movie, which
Hmm.
I liked a lot, and a lot of people didn't like, but I liked it a lot. And but I really like the 80s Running Man also, but they're both two different adaptations of the original source material. So I think that's where it can kind of work the best. Like if you're going to do something wildly different.
Yeah.
But if you're going to make a remake that's solely based on an original idea from a movie or something like that, definitely try something different, like just different enough, but try to make it at least similar enough. So like the Point Break remake veered too far away from the source and then didn't land. So, um, and it's just like, yeah, well, see, that doesn't spoil anything because I love the original Point Break, and that's all that matters. So, um,
I think a really good I my favorite remake and one that I think does that very well, like just adapting a movie into a different movie, was Suspiria. I love the Suspiria
mm,
remake because it feels like it's just having a conversation with the original Suspiria, and they're two
right,
very different movies, but they are kind of the same plot, right? So it's like
interesting. Yeah,
you can
I
see
still
both
need to
of them. I
watch the
think it's
remake. I haven't
interesting.
watched that yet. Yeah, I haven't watched it yet. I need to watch it because I've heard that same thing. Is that it just it's different. Yeah,
It is
different
different.
enough.
Like they're very different films,
Yeah,
but they're both really solid films and I think they're both
yeah,
good stand it's hard obviously because it's like, I can never not have seen the original Suspiria now, but I
yeah.
feel like it would be a good standalone film as well,
That's
the
cool.
remake.
Yeah,
So that's but not everything has that. And a lot of yeah, we have too much. I would love to see more fresh ideas because I have a lot of fun with them. Freaky being a good one. And it's not like I think studios when they get the idea of like it's an all or nothing kind of thing, like it has to be completely original, nobody's ever done this, or it has to be like so reliant on an existing IP that has proven to make money. Freaky's a really good example because it plays with like very familiar tropes, right?
yeah.
We
I
have
mean,
body
it's
switching movies, we
yeah,
have comedy slashers, but like it's
yeah,
all of the elements. It's very fun, it's very unique, it's inventive, it's its own thing, and it
yeah.
did well, right? I
Yeah.
don't have the numbers in front of me. I feel like it
I
did
don't
well,
either. Yeah.
anecdotally.
Yeah. Let me look real quick. Do. Um, let's see. It cost originally, let's see, because that's always good to know. It cost $6 million and made 18.1 million in the box office.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's pretty
Not
good
a roaring
ratio there.
success, but it's good.
No. Yeah. Um, so I mean, for a horror movie, an original
Yeah.
horror movie in theaters, that did pretty good. And to be fair, that this movie came out in November of 2020.
Right.
So theaters were still just barely opening up at that point. Um, so it definitely had had some weight against it, unfortunately. But yeah, no, I think more so critically and with audiences, it did well. So
Yeah.
I've rarely heard anybody say anything bad about Freaky. Most people are either ambivalent or really enjoyed it, and most people I've heard from say they really enjoyed it. So
And I want Universal to take note of this because I'm unafraid to just hate on very popular movies. I also liked Freaky, and it's not a peer pressure thing.
yeah, no, I'm the same way. Like if I don't like trust me, it is well known on this podcast. I do not care for The
Yeah.
Exorcist or The Shining. And those are two major horror movies that people love to death. And I just think they're okay. They're not my cup of tea, but whatever. If people like them, they like them. But it's just yeah, that's the thing. If I like something, I'm gonna tell you about it. If I don't like something, I'm probably not gonna tell you about it very often because I'm not about that negativity.
Yeah.
But I like to talk about the things I like more than the things I don't like. So but yeah, I mean that's what this whole podcast is about. It's just me bringing people on to talk about movies I like. So I rarely talk about movies I don't care about. So thankfully I find enough people to uh, come on and talk with, and I've you know Kat's been on a lot, so she must like a lot of these movies.
I
So
do. Every
so
now and then I come on to be controversial about something I
you've
don't
had a
like,
couple of
but
sour takes, a couple
I
times.
have.
Usually,
And I
usually,
do try to do
usually
that for
only when
like,
I have. It's usually only when I have to bring you in like late minute, last minute, and
yeah.
you're just like, okay, I'll do it, and then it's like, okay, we're gonna have a conversation. So,
Yeah. I will say and it's something also like I try not to do it for like I try to only have the really spicy episodes when it's like you're doing a series of films, like a full franchise, and not like
yeah,
um it's why I was so happy. I got like first pick of Katherine Newton month, and I was really excited about it because it's like then I'll be able to talk about Freaky and we'll have like a good time and it won't be me hating on a movie that
on
everybody else
Abigail,
really
yeah,
likes, which is crazy because I would have come in like if you'd had me on for Abigail or you'd had me on for like Lisa Frankenstein, I would have come on and I would have been like, "Hey, Katherine Newton's awesome," because I she was my favorite part of both of those movies. But
right,
it's always like when you're promoting like the talent of an actress, it's nice to also be like, and the movie was good.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and Freaky's the one that I genuinely feel like this is a good movie and I had a fun time with it. And it's not like an abstract, this could be fun if you like, whatever
Right,
thing.
right.
If
That's
you wish
funny.
your vampire movies were a little bit more mafia who done it, and also the trailer already told you who done it, then Abigail is the movie for you. But no, I have a tough time like recommending. I actually watched Freaky today with my father, because he was hanging out, not doing anything, and it was like, watch this with me. And he's kind of tough on horror movies sometimes because he lives
Right.
in a house where he's constantly being pulled away to watch horror movies, and it's not his genre of choice. But he was like, he had a great time, and he was really impressed with Vince Vaughn, and I think if my father likes this, everyone will have to like this because This was not a
I,
movie for him, and he had a good time. So,
that's good. That's good. Yeah. No, that's awesome. All right. Well, that's all I really have to say about the movie. I really enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun. It's got a lot of great things to say in it, and as
yes,
well as just being kind of just a generally fun movie. Like, and that's the fun thing about it is like even what little it does in messaging, it does well enough that it's not hitting you over the head with it either. It's
yeah.
very organic and very much part of the script itself. So I think that's really good and fun about it because it's not a message movie, but it's got some interesting messages in it. So I think that's a you balancing that again is it's tough, but they did it well. So
And yeah, I guess
yeah,
as a
go ahead.
final point, that is something that I really like. Another thing that it balances really well. Even as a queer person, a lot of the representation that I gravitate toward most is the more abstract, like we're not going to talk about labels too much representation. And this movie, I think, does a really good job both of not hiding its gay characters under subtext, but also having
Yes,
deeper messages that are like engaging the audience and encouraging their own interpretation, which I think is really great. Like it can be both an open-ended queer movie and have real representation, and usually it's one or the other. It's either
right,
like, we're going to have queer subtext, and you can figure it out yourself if you choose to, because we don't want to get canceled, or we have,
right, yeah,
sections that are just about people talking about how gay they are. And it's like I like that Freaky found that good balance of
yeah.
both. It has a little something for everyone, I think.
It really does. I think it really does in a lot of ways. I think maybe the lack of color representation. I mean, we do have the one black friend in the
We have the
movie,
one friend.
but
Yeah.
other than that, like it's very lacking. But of course, it's also in a very small, white, probably more conservative town as well. So, um,
Based off
it's
of the bullying, I could imagine it's a more conservative
yeah,
town.
exactly. So. But yeah, no, I think overall it does well at exactly what you said. So all right. If you don't have anything else that you have to say about the movie, why don't you let people know where they can find you online?
You can find me on social media at Cat Voleur, CatVoleur. You can check out my website, catvoleur.com. I've got Queer Tastes pre-orders live, so you can check that out there. Or
Yes.
at From Beyond Press. So,
Okay. There you go. Go pick up her book. Go check out her other books, Revenge Arc, My Apologies to Telling of Grace. All of them. They're all really good. I've read most of them, not all of them, but what I have read has been very good. So,
thank you.
um, and yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show again. As
Always,
always, I very much appreciate it. And
always a pleasure to be here.
thank you, thank you. And we'll see you again soon, I'm sure. And until
I'm
then,
sure.
stay creepy. Thanks for listening. Creepy and Geeky is produced and hosted by Robert Clark. If you like what you've heard, please consider giving the show 5 stars and a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And share the podcast on social media to help spread the word. Make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app or at creepyandgeeky.com. You can follow the podcast by going to creepyandgeeky.com and clicking on any of the social links. If you'd like to follow me, you can find my links at geekthulu.com. You can support the podcast by ordering teas and more on TeePublic or by donating to the coffee page. All of the links are in the show notes. Finally, don't forget, stay creepy.